Hello, and welcome to my presentation on the localization of English on the World Wide Web. In this presentation, I will be discussing the use of English in the countries of Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. Each uses English as their primary language, so do they spell using American English or British English? That is what I hope to discover by the end of this presentation, as well as convincing you how web analytics and data mining can be a useful tool for you as a company. The aim of this presentation is to show whether the countries of Australia, New Zealand and South Africa use the British spelling of English or the American spelling of English more on their websites. I will be achieving this by creating a set of corpus from the chosen countries and comparing them against the British corpus to see if certain words are more commonly spelt the British way, or comparing them against the American corpus to see if they are more commonly spelt the American way. Before seeing the results, I believe that British English will be the wider used way to spell. This is because I believe that with the connection between Britain and these countries, coupled with the fact there are a lot of expats living out there, should mean the countries lean more towards the British way of spelling. Australia I believe to be the closest to the English corpus, due to the connection between the two countries. New Zealand also has a connection to England, and due to its proximity to Australia, I again believe it will be closer to British English. South Africa, however, I am not sure about, and will be interested to find out. There are some specific ways in which American spelling differs to English spelling, and I will be using these to discover which my specified countries are closer to. The main differences between British English and American English boils down to two different ways of spelling. These are the spellings used in such words as favour or colour, and words such as centre or theatre, where American spelling is different to the English way of spelling it. In Australia, they use a distinct variety of English, which is known as Australian English. I wish to find out if this variety is closer to British English or American English. With the Australian gold rush of 1850 came 2% of the British population, leading Bruce Moore to say, the major input of the various sounds that went into constructing the Australian accent was from South East English. This information would seem to support my theory that Australian English will be closer to the British English. The form of English used in New Zealand is one of the newest variations on the English language in the world. It was developed and became distinctive over the last 100 years. The most distinctive influences on the language come from Australian English, Southern English, Irish English, and Scottish English. Again, this information would lead me to believe that the New Zealand form of English will be closer to the British English than American English. The English used in South Africa is split into three levels: cultivated English, which is associated with the upper class, general English, which is a social indicator of the middle class, and broad English, which is associated with the working class and is closer to the second language of Afrikaans. After looking at the background of English in these three countries, I believe South African English to be the most likely to be closer to American English. Here is the list of words I chose to compare in the Australian corpus. As you see, in almost all cases the British English spelling is more common. The exception to this is the spelling of connection and program. The spelling of connection with an X is a spelling hardly used even in English in this day and age, and therefore was bound to lose. The difference in the spelling of program could be put down to the fact that the British English computer program is spelt the same as the American English, so this data is unreliable. New Zealand has a more varied way of spelling the selected test words, but again, it is clear that overall the British English way of spelling comes out on top. You can see in this view that it is slightly closer, but in most cases, British English reigns supreme. I struggled to find enough words contained in the South African corpus which could help to confirm whether they lean more towards the British or American way of spelling English. However, the few words that I did manage to find once again show British English is the dominant language. The results show that for all countries, the British English comes out on top in total. In the Australian corpus, there are just 4 of the chosen test words which even have the American spelling, and in all of these, they are used less than the English, except for connection. The New Zealand corpus has almost exactly the same outcome. With the South African results, it is harder to come to a conclusive answer, simply because there was not enough sample data to use. Having said this, in the words that were used, the English spelling does come out very much on top. During my research, I attempted to use the tool Sketch Engine. Whilst using it, I encountered some problems. The tool seemed to continuously stall as soon as I asked it to do something. It did, however, work every now and then, and when it did, it managed to yield some useful information. Here, I used the corpora available on the University of Leeds School of Computing website. This is a large data set of words obtained from the websites of the different countries. The table shows the results. The closer each is to 1, the more each has in common with the given corpus. In each of Australia, New Zealand and South Africa, you can see that although very slightly, they are all, except for Australia, closer to 1 when compared to the British national corpus than the Brown corpus. Here I have used the corpus I attempted to create using Sketch Engine to compare against the British national corpus and the Brown corpus. Here you see that all have more in common with the British national corpus than the Brown corpus, and by a larger margin than before. In conclusion, I believe that it is clear that all 3 countries predominantly use British English rather than American English according to the results. This would suggest that when writing for an audience from one of these countries, then the British spelling should be adopted. I hope that this has shown you how effective data and text mining can be when hoping to target a specific audience. Thank you.